Welcome to Nation Building on Demand. My name is Blessing Udwak Udwehe, and today we have a distinguished guest with us today, Dr. Moses Paul. He's a civic leader, the founder of the Free Nigerian Foundation, and the AMAC candidate for the FCT 2026 Area Council elections, Dr. Moses Paul, also known as the cheerful Dr. Mo. Dr. Mo, it's good to have you here with us today.
Same here.
So I'd like to know, for those meeting you for the first time, who is Dr. Mo?
Well, it's important to say that I'm a father, a mentor, a social and civic activist. But more than anything else, I'm a Nigerian who believes sincerely that Nigeria can become all that it could be. I'm an irredentist in the salvation of Nigeria. I believe that Nigeria would herald the greatness of the black civilization globally. It will lead that frontier, and principally, that's who I believe that I am, aside being a politician and every other thing that comes with it.
That's wonderful to hear. I'm very interested in what inspired you to form the Free Nigerian Foundation.
Interesting. Free Nigeria Foundation was born out of frustration. Also, it was also born out of hope. You know, looking at the status quo and the trajectory of where we are as a nation and as a people. When you look around Nigeria, you see that we are gifted with very strategic geographic climatic conditions in terms of vegetation and environment, the valleys, the mountains, the fertile soil that we have. We have some of the most resourceful and energetic young people on the face of the earth. Nigeria is home to about the biggest market in Africa and some of the big markets in the world. But you can see that side by side, Nigeria also is, with all the resources and all the things that we have, we are lagging behind, you know, in so many things in the world stage, with rising poverty, insecurity, and a bad governance system, I dare say, to be able to manage these awesome resources that we have been gifted with. This is why the Free Nigeria Foundation was born, to understand that no nation on the earth has become what it's supposed to be through governance alone, but with civic participation and a people whose consciousness are risen to participate and hold governance accountable and also to do their civic responsibilities. So it is upon these premises and many more that the Free Foundation was born.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now you talked about the young population and also mismanagement of our resources. I'd like to know, what does nation building look like to you?
For me, nation building is our daily lives. It's what you do daily. It's your responsibility, your daily accountability. It is ensuring that people do the right thing and that you show a daily example of how things should be. That is what I consider as nation building at its elementary stage, to be able to ensure that families, that schools, that the banking system, that politics, that governance, you know, with all these themes that I'm mentioning, because I'll tell you something, that people generally, especially with our climate right now, a lot more people are participating, or rather they understand what politics is at that level. But no, not so many people understand what a powered citizen is, or a what you call active citizenship. where responsibilities are not just relegated to government, but also to citizens and individuals, because at the end of the day, that's where nation building lies. So that's what nation building means to me. It is the consciousness to take responsibility along the lines of all the spheres of society and wherever you find yourself, because at the end of the day, you are the nation.
And that's wonderful. Now, I follow your Free Nigerian Foundation movement, and I know that it heavily champions civic engagement and citizenship and so that's wonderful. Now, I follow your Free Nigerian Foundation movement. I know that it heavily champions civic engagement and citizenship participation. I'd like to know what fueled this action.
If you look at the Free Nigeria Foundation, absolutely you're correct on the nuances that surrounds what it holds there. The FREE is an acronym for Foundation for Restoring or Looking at Civic Values and Responsibility. And it's not in the big things, but in ensuring that you do not throw trash on the streets, ensuring that you obey traffic rules, ensuring that you pay your taxes, you do what is right by every means possible. And also, we're very also big on equality, to ensuring that regardless of your gender, that there is equitable distribution of responsibilities and opportunity, whether you're a boy child or a girl child or wherever bracket or social status that you found yourself. And also to ensure that we educate people and create room for people to go to school, a schooling systems that allows for credit or meritocracy around skills, as it gives credence to certification, to allow schools that will enable people to be trained, and also a solution oriented people, as much as a business creation people, that will allow the Nigerian citizen to be able to compete globally with any citizens across the world. So foundation, restoring civic values, education, of course, and equality, where human rights and all of that nuances are concerned. So to ensure that we have a balance in our society,
Yes.
where the dignity of people, are equitably carried out. These are some of the things that's engineered and empowered, and the initiation of the Free Nigeria Foundation.
Okay, now you talked a bit about the participation of people in society. Now, where do you feel that citizens need to be more actively involved?
Looking at where we are right now in Nigeria, it's important for people to participate in their civic responsibilities. I think that's one of the areas where Nigerians as a people are lacking behind, to understand that the responsibilities of ensuring that, and it's all across board, from politics to governance to, like I said, the different civic responsibilities, and ensuring that we have education, healthcare, to know that it's our call and that we are the ones to actually ensure that these things work. That consciousness, there is need for participation across board where these gates are concerned.
Okay, so I'd like to ask, do you believe in a lasting national transformation? Do you believe that it begins with the government or the people?
It's both, but a sustainable governance transformation comes from the people. Mm-hmm. The power that the government or the elites or the politicians have is always given by the people. Mm-hmm. That's why I've often said that a people who are educated cannot easily be enslaved. A people whose consciousness are raised, will sit at a place where they will not just accept whatever government or politicians or people do. It is about demand and supply. So I would say that in context that the power lies with the people. That's where the strength of democracy comes from. Is government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Okay, so I have a very particular question I'd like to ask. I'm sure the people would like to know, which political party do you currently belong to? And do you feel like that is the right platform for your vision?
Political parties are just merely vehicles in the Nigerian context, because whether you're talking about the APC, the PDP, the NDC, or the ADC, when you go through their constitution like I have, you would find very heavy themes of ideology written there. Whether those ideologies are imbibed and implemented is a totally different thing altogether. I just finished an election, like you rightly pointed out, and I just came out of court just in the last few days under the African Democratic Congress, which I believe is a solid foundation, given the context of its constitution, and that's where I am at the moment. However, I think I would like to answer this question from the current status quo of the FCT minister,
Okay.
which for me is that it's not about platform, but where are you going and what purpose who are you going to be supporting, and what credit, what values are you going to be fighting for? So I want to be like Wike.
Okay.
Because we don't know which party he belongs to. And so me right now, I don't know which party I belong to. My power lies with the Nigerian people.
Okay.
And I'm going to go and stand with the people, wherever the people are. That's where I'm going to be at the moment.
Speaking about these people, politics can sometimes discourage people. What do you think about that? And what advice do you have for them?
We should never get to the point where we become apathetic. The idea of those who want to destroy our democracy and governance is to ensure that people give in and give up where the participation in politics is concerned. I've said this a couple of times, that whatever change that we will bring in every area of our society, whether even in the civic space, in religion, in within the economic cycle, whether it's reform in our electoral act, whether you're talking about the banking sector, tourism, wherever, it is important to know that the source of power comes from governance, and governance is controlled by those by politics.
Yes.
Politics is the gateway to governance. And the idea is to ensure that right-thinking people, patriotic citizens, do not participate in politics, because that's where all the rough plays take place. Everything that you can think about. And so it's important for patriots to involve themselves. It's part of the education that I am going to be heavy on in the coming weeks, months, and years, to be able to raise the consciousness of the people, to ensure that we must participate, we must never give in. In any case, in this movement towards emancipating Nigeria politically and otherwise, it's important to state very clearly that it took over 80 years before Mandela became the president of South Africa.
Yes.
Nigeria is not even 70 years old. It took over 80 years before Martin Luther King was killed. It shows that in the struggle of emancipation, there is no microwave method. You have to go through the entire process. You have to stand strong, you have to keep fighting, you have to have perseverance, you have to suffer long. Every value that will allow you to be able to go through the process, you have to employ that. And so my message to the people is that we should never give in, we should never give up, we should keep participating, particularly in politics, because that is the road to the success in governance. And once we get governance, we get education, we get health, we get every other vital element that is required for nation building.
That's wonderful. I'd also like to ask, what are the fundamental responsibilities of an average Nigerian in somehow sustaining the democracy of Nigeria?
We must ensure that, of course, voting and be voted for. Participation in processes that gives birth to leadership. It is critical. It is foundational. It's whatever we see in terms of governance, whatever we see in terms of politics, whatever we see in terms of leadership, it is a responsibility of Nigerians. Nigerians need to know that the leadership that we see today, that we are responsible for them. It's touch response. It is what the citizenry allows that you are seeing today as the face of leaders or leadership or governance like we have it today. So it is critical to say that we must ensure that we arm ourselves as citizens. Your responsibility is to ensure, first and foremost, accountability, transparency. So holding government and leaders accountable. These are primary roles of citizens, and also to ensure that you engage in civic, activities, that would ensure that you have a credible society, qualitative leadership, and also arm yourself with the power to be able to vote and be voted for.
That's wonderful. I'd like to delve a little bit into the upcoming elections and ask that, in your opinion, what are your predictions for these upcoming elections?
I think Nigerians are becoming increasingly conscious about their roles, their responsibility, the awareness in terms of participating in elections and cycles of election, even though you can see that because, again, for sometimes the will of the people have been trampled upon, there's somewhat some sense of apathy. However, as I move around and talk to people, I know that we are moving forward in the right direction. As against what many have said, more people are going to participate in this election more than ever before because of the raise in consciousness. So I believe that regardless of the outcome, we're going to see more people participate in the process, and that is what is expected. That is the right action, or the right thing to be done, moving forward. So my prediction is that we're going to see a show. We're going to see much more than ever before the will of the people play out in this election by the sheer participation of people across board, regardless of whatever other people have said across board.
Okay, now I know that earlier you had mentioned that you are on the side of the people.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
where you stand.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'd like to know, what role will you play in this election cycle?
I'm going to play a critical role. Of course, I'm going to ensure that I go around the country to raise the consciousness of the people in terms of what they need to do, how they need to go about this particular election cycle, what roles and responsibilities, and to ensure that the institutions of governance, from the civil society, INEC, police, EFCC, and other people are held accountable to doing what they need to do. So I'm going to be playing a much bigger role than what I've done before in ensuring that the citizenry are awake to take their place in this particular season that they found themselves.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now I'd like to also delve into this AMAC chairmanship elections that happened in 2026. I'd like to know, what lessons did you take away from your experience running for the AMAC chairmanship elections?
There are a couple of lessons for me. especially going through the court process. First of all, I mean, becoming a candidate in a major political party, participating in the elections, coming out, going to court, getting judgment, regardless of the outcome, regardless of all that has happened. It has shown me clearly that even though the will of the people in Amak have not been fully represented, but as I move around and I touch base with people, is dawning on me that it is very critical for credible people to participate, because what it does is that it wakes up a dormant power that is inside the people, and it also puts the electorate, in a place where they also can see their power. And I'm saying that because of the different activities that I've engaged with, and also learning to see how flawed our judiciary system is. Also the regulatory bodies like INEC, and also to see how understanding that it is critical to also pursue whatever it is that we engage it to a logical conclusion, because again it sets a foundation and a template for not just academic exercise, but in such a way that it becomes a record that people can also pull out of, and a couple of other lessons that I will share as times goes on.
Okay, now concerning this particular case in court, I'd like to ask you, based on the memo that was put out, you said that your legal challenge was about protecting democracy rather than personal ambition. Looking back, do you feel that justice was served, and why?
Absolutely, and capital no. Justice was not served because, I tell you what, the tribunal went on without jurisdiction. In the Electoral Act of 2026, when you look at section 135, it clearly states how and who should be part of the committee for the tribunal. And clearly that was flawed. And in law, when the basis is completely removed, whatever it is that whatever judgment is given becomes nullity. It is baseless. In my words, it is completely useless because it has no foundation. And one of the things that is also critical is that when we engaged in the court proceedings, both myself and the other parties all agreed that the committee that was set up was not properly set up based on the 2026 Electoral Act, which is almost like, it's like you want to play football and both team A and team B are saying that the referee is not qualified, but the referee says I must continue to conduct it.
Yes.
So that's what you have in that case. Justice is completely thrown out of the window. And then it is critical to also state that even when we appeal the tribunal appeal gave a judgment without reasons. In the Nigerian Constitution, only the Supreme Court has the prerogative to issue or give a judgment and set another date to give her reasons. So you can see that both the appeal and the tribunal were completely flawed. And that is to say that justice is far from being achieved. However, I have come to terms with the judgment and where we are, because there comes a time in one's life where you need to move forward, regardless of whatever circumstances you are being faced with. And that's where I am right now, without bitterness, without resentment, just the future. in mind, just to ensure that we move forward as a people.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear. Now, I know that in your statement you raised these particular concerns about the tribunal's jurisdictions and how the judgment was delivered. Now, moving forward, what specific electoral and judicial reforms do you think are necessary to prevent such similar issues from occurring again in future AMAC elections?
We just need people reform. It is not about the policies that are there. I think we just have very corrupt individuals who do not want to play by the book. And I tell you, it is not the absence of traffic lights in Abuja that makes people break the rules.
Yes.
They break it because in themselves they are corrupt people. So, and this is why my message to the people is that we must continue to thrive and push forward. We must have our people, credible people in the justice system, in the, in INEC, in police, in EFCC, in wherever they have to find themselves, because the Electoral Act, the laws are there and clearly, but they were flaunted, they were broken by a corrupt system. So that's where the case is. We need people reform.
Okay, now I know an interesting line you had given in your speech is that you said that service for you is greater than holding political office. So without this particular elected position, what concrete projects or initiatives should AMAC residents expect from you over the next year?
I'll continue to do what I have been doing over the years, and even much more now with the Free Nigeria Foundation, where we will continue to provide services to the primary health care, within AMAC. As we get more grants and work, we channel those resources towards ensuring that we give facelifts to some of the critical primary health care centers, provide more desks, and revamp more toilet facilities for some of the primary schools, like we've always done. And then also begin to continue to reshape the narrative of conversation around civic engagement, and also engage in governance with electoral reforms, with all the we will continue to push that narrative and hold seminars and educate young people and secure grants for young people to go abroad. So those are the things that we'll continue to see, while we also help the small scale businesses and equip young people through training and skill acquisition. Those are the things that we've been doing, and we're going to see more in the coming year.
That's wonderful work we do, Dr. Mo. I'm glad to have you on board today. I know that this particular election attracted a lot of young people. Mm-hmm. It pulled a lot of young people out to really be actively involved in the process of the political space. But seeing how things would turn out, what do you have to say to those young people who might feel discouraged in participating in politics and read meaning into the judgments that were made?
There is no room to look back. Nigerians, young people need to understand that they are the future. They are the ones to change the narrative and the status quo. They have to stand strong. I have never looked back. If anything, I am more energized, to contest again, to work more, because we are at a place in our nation's history, and this is very interesting for young people to understand that we can't measure ourselves against Americans or Indonesians or Chinese people or Singaporeans. We can't, because we have to see ourselves as founding fathers. What those countries have been through, we have to go through it. We have to see ourselves. For example, when I was in Rwanda and I had the opportunity to meet with President Paul Kagame, Rwanda was one of those places where, I was much younger. We took a lot of programs to Rwanda, shortly after the genocide. And in 1994,